Welcome back to the Pearl Report. 6 months after Typhoon Haiyan struck central Philippines, relief operations are winding down. Now the hardest parts begin, rebuilding homes and livelihoods.
Pressy and her 5 children survived Typhoon Haiyan. They evacuated to school while her husband stayed behind to guard their home in Tacloban City. He was swept away during the storm surge along with their entire neighborhood.
I kept crying because I wanted to see him again.
Costa Brava lies along the city's coast. 100 died here.
We looked for him among the dead but couldn't find him. But people who recognized him said they'd seen him dead already. I pitied my kids. My youngest is still small, only 2 years old.
Pressy lives in a temporary house built by a church group. She's jobless. Her family relies on food aid.
We always look for the most vulnerable population first. Usually female head of household, no source of regular income, and maybe 3 to 4 children.
2.5 million people in disaster areas have been getting emergency food aid. Starting this month, the free food is being phased out as emergency relief operations wind down. And Tacloban transitions to the hardest phase of its recovery, rebuilding livelihoods in disaster areas.
Before the typhoon, 95% of the people living there had jobs. I mean, they were employees, they were laborers, and I feel that's going to come back. The only difficulty now is that about 55% of our Tacloban city has electricity, so we still have 45% to go. And once, there's electricity here, then businesses will start opening. Then most of these people will get their jobs back.
But not the livelihoods in the largest sector uprooted by Haiyan, the coconut industry.
Above 90% of farmers here are in the coconut industry. When Yolanda came, the impact was catastrophic in Leyte and Samar, with over 33 million trees damaged, of which about 16 million are dead. They're blown down or the crown's damaged to a level where it can no longer bear fruit.
Coconut trees take
7 to 10 years for them to basically bear fruit again, for these farmers to have that livelihood back.
This is my house.
Raimundo Galina owns a hectare of land and 100 coconut trees. All knocked down except for one.
Parang desierto ito.
This is like a desert. All trees fallen. The coconut is our only source of income.
He makes 500 Hong Kong dollars every 4 months from harvesting coconuts.
This is my rice. This is all that's left.
Galina, his wife, and 2 kids rely on food aid.
My rice would last only till April. That's when I'll struggle for food. Back to planting sweet potatoes. That's what we'll be eating.
With our food security, we'll be making sure that they have cash.
Philip Rondell, Oxfam's program manager.
We're doing cash for work.
260 pesos a day, the minimum wage for clearing debris.
This is a big help for me. My kids get travel money, plus we can buy food.
As you can see all around, massive cocoa debris. And we need to get this off the productive land as soon as possible, by May.
So farmers can come start cross-cropping with alternative crops until they can get coconuts again.
The fallen trees are turned into lumber for farmers to use in rebuilding their homes.
Where we've brought in 8 sawmills with 2 additional ones on the way. We can bring them into these small areas for farmers who can use that for their own rebuilding efforts. Some of the wood going to emergency shelters.
Shelter is the single most urgent need of homeless survivors. Rosita Villalino, 73, lost her husband to Haiyan.
We needed to evacuate, but he didn't evacuate because no one would look after the house.
He was swept away along with their entire neighborhood. Now a virtual tent city. Around 5,000 people lived here before Haiyan came. 500 died and thousands left homeless.
Now, no house, just live in a tent. It's hard, it's hot. I'm scared when it's windy, even when it just rains.
It's a tragedy. People are still living in these kind of conditions. We're having a mobile clinic for the residents of this tent city. A lot of children are getting sick. A lot of respiratory infections, skin diseases, a result of the living conditions. The cramped spaces, the temperature inside the tents basically makes them prone to infections, maybe about 37, 38, 40 degrees Celsius. The response both from the national and the local authorities are a bit slow and lacking.
The biggest challenge we have now is shelter and really relocating families to a better and safer area. And, but you're talking of about 18,000 to 20,000 families. We're only running about 1,400 temporary shelters. About 90% of our local income coming from the business sector, we've only collected like 10 to 15%. Because most of their businesses have been damaged.
Ninita Altar's family is among the homeless survivors to get a temporary home.
Our house has 2 rooms because there are 6 of us. It's okay, comfortable. At least we sleep well and it's relaxing.
Charity groups are pitching in. 40 have been completed here on government land.
I'd like to at least get close to 7,000 to 6,000 temporary shelters at least, and before the next rainy season comes.
But the biggest challenge is yet to come: rehousing entire communities within the no-build zone. 40 meters from the shoreline. A week after Haiyan struck, the country passed a law banning any settlement along some of its coastlines deemed vulnerable to a storm surge.
Let's fix the top. It's raining.
Joel is one of thousands of fishermen in Samar province whose property falls within the no-build zone. The roof and walls of his house were blown away by the typhoon.
We have nowhere to live. I hope the government will provide support so we can have a house.
It's actually a law that applies to the entire nation, but as you can see, it's more honored in the bridge rather than in actuality.
If we're going to enforce that, it would be difficult because that means we'd have to buy most of the properties, in those areas.
The mayor has come up instead with an ambitious long-term redevelopment plan. New townships further inland on higher ground, like this housing project built by charity groups on government property.
We found land, but developing the lands also somewhat takes time and is also costly.
Six months after the tragedy, people in Tacloban are returning to normal, except for some still haunted by Haiyan.
I thought there was no future for the people of Tacloban.
Rosita Salayo, her 1-year-old daughter and husband evacuated to school during the typhoon. Her father, elder sister, and younger brother drowned.
They didn't evacuate. They stayed behind.
Their deaths and the sheer scale of the devastation in her community have traumatized Rosita.
My feeling was we'd starve to death. People would kill each other because there was no relief aid. It took 4 days before relief came. I didn't expect to survive because I thought it was the end of the world.
Post-traumatic stress disorder is one of the most well-studied phenomena after disaster.
Dr. Christian Chan trains professionals in Tacloban in counseling traumatized survivors.
So a lot of them are preschool teachers, nurses, doctors, medical students, pastors. I'm giving them basic psychoeducation, teaching them to take care of themselves and those around them in their communities. There are not enough mental health professionals on the ground.
In the beginning, how did you feel?
Rosita gets counseling in one of 11 baby-friendly tents provided by an aid group specializing in psychosocial support for women.
It's useful for them to come here, to relax and to share what they feel and to find another woman in the same situation, no?
The first baby steps for survivors slowly recovering from a typhoon they hope never to see again.
Well, thank you for watching our show. It will be re-aired on Tuesday and Saturday, as well as on tvb.com. Until next time, from the Pearl Report team, good night, good luck, and good health.